What if the most powerful edge in financial advisory had nothing to do with products and everything to do with psychology? That's the question Rainmaker was built to answer. Most financial advisors seeking to grow their practice don't have a skills problem. They have a connections problem. Cold outreach fails 97% of the time. 9 in 10 new advisors wash out within 5 years, and the industry loses more than $6 billion annually to failed prospecting. The market's there. The problem is the match. The advisors who grow fastest aren't the best salespeople. They're the ones whose clients feel genuinely understood. That's not accidental. That's alignment. Rainmaker quantifies it. The 13-question assessment maps each advisor's profile across 12 Jungian archetypes. 144 compatibility pairings score every possible advisor-to-prospect combination, and AI-calibrated messaging is generated from those shared traits, not generic templates. One psychological engine, 3 distinct growth applications. The gatherer helps you clone your best relationships, surfacing lookalike prospects ranked by alignment. The hunter identifies the highest probability prospects and tells you exactly what to say. And the recruiter brings that same engine to your firm's biggest talent challenge. Let's take a look at each one. What if you could duplicate your best clients? Not by chance, but by design. Every successful advisor has thought about how wonderful life would be if they could only find a way to duplicate their most favored clients. Unfortunately, as advisors become more successful, their prospecting style moves from active acquisition to passive management. Most new relationships are introduced by way of unsolicited referrals. Rainmaker can flip the script. Let's identify 1 or 2 of your most favored clients, run them through the gatherer approach, figure out where they most likely align with you, the FA, then take a look at their LinkedIn first-degree connections. As you start to add some of their connections back to gatherer, you're going to see some commonalities and feel very good about reaching out to people you know ahead of time you're already going to fall in love with. A simple request to that underlying client to use their name as a reference when you reach out to your future client is all it takes. And here's what the outreach looks like. A personalized LinkedIn connection request, grounded in real shared experience, written in the advisor's own voice, and ready to copy and send. Let's talk about the hunter. What if you knew exactly who to contact and what to say before the first message was ever sent? Hunter will go out and search initially for professions that will most likely be compatible with that advisor. From there, the advisor can do a deeper dive into individual prospects, utilizing advanced AI tools to find every piece of public information available to plot an alignment score. Once that score is in place, the advisor can then decide whether or not they choose to engage. Once the right prospect is identified, Rainmaker will generate a fully personalized connection request, or a LinkedIn email, or a regular email. Each one will be written to reflect the shared traits between the advisor, that specific prospect. No templates, no guesswork. Precision matched messaging, ready to send in seconds at 25 to 40% cold response rates. Financial advisors have the option, after completing the initial archetype survey, to have their LinkedIn profiles analyzed and suggestions for a rewrite offered. As you can see, reading the before and after versions of this particular advisor's LinkedIn profile, you notice on the right, it is much more engaging, contains many more keywords that could be found on a search, and overall present that advisor in a much more professional manner. Over the past 4 decades of production, training, and coaching other advisors, I've assembled over 42 gigabytes of material in various sources. Rainmaker has access now to all of that material and is able to parse it and generate it to a financial advisor at the exact moment they need to see it, structured in such a way that it fits their underlying archetype and the way they learn. Some of these are 30-second snippets, some of them are 30-minute videos. But if you're unsure about how to proceed down any sales cycle with a prospective client, Rainmaker has the resources at exactly the time you need it.
Let's talk about recruiting. $6.5 billion in headhunter fees alone, billions more in transition packages, and the firm still can't reliably predict who will stay. From 2020 to 2024, 177,000 advisors changed firms, taking $13 trillion in client assets with them. The wirehouse has paid an estimated $90 to $300 million in third-party recruiting fees over roughly 8,300 net departures. This is not a talent problem. It's a compatibility problem. No one was measuring who was actually ready to move and who would actually fit once they got there. Rainmaker changes that using the same engine we use in prospecting, now pointed at recruiting. And it starts with the branch. The manager completes a short assessment that defines the office, its culture, its leadership style, and the profile of the producers who already thrive there. That becomes the benchmark. Then Rainmaker does something different. Working entirely from public data, it surfaces advisors who look like that benchmark, ranked by genuine similarity across tenure, book, and practice model, and layers on a switch signal observable indicators drawn from real movement patterns that an advisor may be contemplating a change. The strongest of those signals isn't a guess about personality, it's behavior. A seasoned advisor who recently moved once already is far more likely to move again. For each prospect, the manager gets a similarity rank, the specific signals that flag them, and a personalized conversation guide written in their own voice. So the first outreach is a warm, relevant conversation, not a cold pitch. To be clear about what this is, it's a sourcing tool. It helps a manager decide who's worth a first conversation. It does not make hiring decisions, and it does not predict performance. Same engine, a focused, defensible application.
Steve Jobs said it in 1997. You start with the customer experience and work backward to the technology. That's how I built Rainmaker. Been a financial advisor for over 4 decades, and I understood that if I didn't have a quality relationship with any client that I worked with, that relationship was not going to last very long. So I built the technology to solve the problem. 3 tools, 1 psychological engine, following the same methodology that made Apple iconic, now applied to the most relationship-driven business in the world. Rainmaker. Enterprise ready, CRM compatible, patent protected. Want to learn more? Look me up. Email me at gary@arcmatch.com. This is Gary Cinderbrand. Thanks for your time.